RMJ Movie Reviews back again. And I figure with this reboot, remake, or whatever of Ghostbusters coming out, I decided to review all things Ghostbusters. As you saw in the previous video, I put up an old sticker book that I had gotten. I don't know whether I had gotten that for my birthday or for Christmas. I think I had gotten that for my birthday, if I remember, when I was a kid in the 80s. So I decided to review The Real Ghostbusters, Volume 1. For the cartoon series that it actually first aired in 1986, 2 years after the original film was released in theaters. I purchased this long time ago, which I purchased this I think in 2000 and I believe 8, maybe. I was still in college when I made this purchase. I'm a real big nostalgia buff, and actually it was funny, I was at Best Buy yesterday. They actually have the entire series now. Like, so at this time when I bought this, it was just this volume, but now they got all of them, all the seasons together. Which I don't remember when it stopped. I remember watching this show probably, I think I watched from the time it first started in 86, and I think I might have watched it up until like 1990, maybe. Probably until I was maybe till I was about 9, maybe, or 10. And I think around 10, I kind of started to, but I was 10, 11, 12, I was getting to that preteen, teenager. So I think when I turned about 10, I kind of started to get over my whole Ghostbusters thing, my Ghostbusters craze. But I did see this series when it first aired in 1986. I had actually seen, I'm telling you all these things because it gives me context to why I said what I said about remakes and the Ghostbusters remake and all of that, is that I've seen some YouTuber reviewers and other reviewers say, well, I'm not close with Ghostbusters. Well, I'm going to sit here and say I am close with Ghostbusters because it's very linked with my childhood. For the 5 millionth time, I'm 34 years old and I was born in 81, so I had seen the cartoon and the original film. Now, this is way before even Ghostbusters 2 had come out in 1989. This was in the mid-80s when I had seen this cartoon, The Real Ghostbusters, and when I had seen Ivan Reitman's original Ghostbusters film. I had seen that all around the same time. If I remember right, I think I had seen the cartoon first, if I remember right, and then I had seen the original one shortly after on video, because I still remember my father had come in from the video store, and it was like one weekend I was over my dad's, and all of us were together as a family. My dad came in and said, I rented Ghostbusters, and I still remember to this day, I looked at my dad and I said, the cartoon or the movie? And he was like, the movie, son. And I was, yay! And we watched Ghostbusters. And also, too, we used to watch, and I think I might have said this in the other video, we used to watch Ghostbusters because I was in the after-school program growing up because my mother was a teacher. She worked late. So, or she would get out of school late, and like where she worked was like 35 minutes away. So I would be in the after-school program. And when we were in the after-school program, we used to always watch Ghostbusters because in the after-school program, of course, you do activities and blah, 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 this, blah, blah, blah. So some days we'd have movie day. And there's a couple of movies I still remember which we watched. Flight of the Navigator. That's going old school. Y'all remember that with the eyeball and the little silver ship that looked like a silver hawk? Yeah, we used to watch that. And we used to watch this film. And I'm digressing here, but I want to throw this in. I remember one time, this lady, her name was Vicky, and she was like one of like the teachers of the after school program. She rented us a movie from the video store, and it was The Beastmaster. You remember the movie The Beastmaster? Now, if anybody remembers, that's not a film you should particularly be watching in the after school program, regardless of its rating. And I remember it was like 5 or 10 minutes into the movie where like people are getting killed, and I remember some woman's boobies was flying around, and I just remember she cut the movie off and was like, oh, but you remember, this is at the time before you had IMDb, before you had the internet, before you had Rotten Tomatoes, before you could see everything that the movie was about. Back at that time, PG, hey, animal on the cover, hey, cool movie. But I just wanted to tell that story because it was funny. So either way, this is my closeness to Ghostbusters. And when I saw the original film, that was the first time I had seen it when my dad had rented it, and we watched it as a family, and I was hooked on the movie. I was hooked on it. I loved it. I thought it was funny. I wasn't terrified by it, but I listened to the commentary for the DVD, and Ivan Reitman did say that they did explain at the time that it wasn't a children's film. The original Ghostbusters film is not a children's film. So I was scared by Gozer, some of it, but I wasn't like overly terrified where I couldn't sleep. Segue into the cartoon, which I had already seen a little bit of. The cartoon I just love from top to bottom as much as I love the movies. The only thing I used to be confused about as a kid was how, as you can see on this cover here, they do not look like Harold Ramis, Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, and Ernie Hudson. I had learned through, I don't know if it was one of the commentaries, because this has really good special features. Matter of fact, the episodes have commentaries, and there's a behind the scenes about the creation of the show. Very brief, but it's kind of scattered throughout, not in one big documentary like other special features do. But I think it had something to do with they weren't allowed to use the actors' likenesses, but they could still give like Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis their credit and Ivan Reitman. So they could use the name, but they couldn't use Bill Murray and all of them's likeness or their voices. But what I love about this cartoon is that it is extremely faithful to the original film. The real Ghostbusters, this cartoon, is to the T faithful to the first Ivan Reitman film. Peter Venkman in the cartoon is minus the sexual innuendo type of humor is exactly like Bill Murray is played. Although he looks different and he sounds different, he still has that kind of naughty, kind of smart ass, kind of I'm not taking this so seriously, but when it gets down to business, I handle my business type of attitude. Egon is still like a brainiac who says like all these complex thoughts, and he's kind of almost out the realm of like normal people, but he kind of is a little bit there, but kind of not. Ray is still that very overly enthusiastic who kind of sometimes gets so overly enthusiastic that he doesn't clearly think things through, but his enthusiasm keeps the rest of the group going. And Winston is exactly the way Ernie Hudson played him in the film. You know, he's kind of like, you know, this stuff is crazy, but hey, I need a job, so I need this job, gotta make my money, but this is just crazy what's going on around me. This is above my head, but I'm rolling with it. This is my job. You know, they're all still very faithful. And what I love is how, just like the first film, the real Ghostbusters cartoon really it balances the humor, which this is a kid show, so it's not the naughty humor of the first film, but it still kind of has goofy, silly humor. And the jokes are actually funny. They are actually funny, I might add. And it also incorporates the darkness of the first film. You know, so like Gozer, and also I might add, Gozer is featured, I believe it was in the first or second, I think it was in the first cartoon. But this cartoon is a direct sequel to the first film. And then kind of after it gives that the pilot episode, which is a direct sequel continuation of the first film, it kind of goes off and does its own thing. But it stays true to the characters of Ghostbusters. Janine is exactly the same. Slimer is kind of revamped for the show, because we all know in the film he kind of was like this, kind of just like, he was really more of a gag, but in the show he's kind of recreated to be like their best buddy. And also they continue kind of off of the storyline that's when they first met Slimer slimed Peter, so they kind of have this love-hate relationship that goes throughout the cartoon, and I thought that was clever. The stories in this cartoon are just very, very inventive, very unique. They have a Christmas episode where the Ghostbusters deal with Ebenezer Scrooge. Like I said, one of my favorites is the Boogeyman episode, where there's this giant, it's fairly creepy too, this giant head boogeyman who terrifies children. Dark episode, but handled with a lightness, kind of like with that kind of never-ending story type, a little bit of creepiness, but a little bit of kidness to balance it out. There's another episode I told you about where there's the All Hallows Eve, which is Sam Hain. comes back and he wants to have the whole world be like Halloween. Really cool, dark episodes. I was very impressed with it rewatching it because I hadn't seen the show in a very long time. And, of course, like the nostalgia in me was just like, Ghostbusters, I watched it when I was a kid. But really, the storytelling is very good. I just love the stories. It's actually funny. And what I also love is that they do make direct references to the film. This is a continuation of the film, like I said. And they also even make direct references to the actors from the first film. They're scattered throughout the episodes of this first season. I can't remember what they did in the later seasons, but at least in this first season. And there's even a lot of direct references to movies. They make a reference to Howard the Duck at the time. There's a lot of you have to have been alive in the 80s to know the references when they make them. Goodness, where else was I going? I'm getting so pumped here, I had lost my thought on one for a minute too. But that's another thing I want to leave. This also has the musical montages too. So like the first film, when you've got the part at the end where Sigourney Weaver stands up and then you see the little lights going over New York City. I believe in magic, magic. I believe in... Remember that part of the movie? They have montages throughout the cartoon that are structured exactly like that. Just like the film. So it stays true to 1980s aesthetics in terms of just the storytelling, the musical montage to tell a part of the story. The cartoon incorporates that directly to a T, and it's kind of got hip sounding 80s music, probably developed specifically for the cartoon. As cheesy as it may be, but if you guys remember that time, it has the 80s spirit. This is a fun show. It's very well done. What I was disappointed about with the second film was that I really wish kind of like stuff like the All Hallows Eve storyline or the Boogeyman storyline, stuff like that, I really think they could have incorporated into the actual second Ghostbusters 2 movie and would have made it a lot more interesting than what they came up with. I mean, you can see from this cartoon there was tons of great stories they could have told in the second film, so I still am confused about how the second movie, at least the story, came out to be so blah to me. But either way, fantastic series. I love this series. Let's see what we can do with this girls Ghostbusters movie. I ain't expecting much, but I've been hearing that it's it's okay. Whatever. Thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video, and leave comments down below about the real Ghostbusters 1980s cartoon. Leave comments down below. Do you have that same childhood attachment like I do, or did you just kind of see it in passing, or are you somebody younger who just happens to be watching it now and rediscovering everything? Leave comments down below and we'll share RMJ Movie Reviews. I'll be back with you guys soon.